This is Dr. Kim Duramo, conscious physician. We are here with MindBody TV, and I am going to be sharing today about ending the search for health, abundance, healing journey, and really embracing what is already in you. So welcome to everyone who is listening to the recording or listening to the podcast. I'm always very excited to share this. And welcome to everyone who's joining live. Alicia, Amy, Connie. All right, I took a few notes because there's a lot I have to say on this. And I want to be able to distill it down really simply and understanding like the mechanics of how your body works, how the body becomes whole and heals, and what's creating so much illness and why so many people have all these layers and layers and layers of disease, and even like obscure diseases that nobody's heard of, because so many more acronyms are being created by the minute to just name all the ways people are getting sick and their bodies are deteriorating. And so as a doctor, for me, it's not so much essential as like what's actually the clinical diagnosis, but what is actually keeping the body from healing. What's preventing this person from having the health and vitality, restoration, healing that can happen in the body to regenerate cells, instead of continuing to break down? Or if there's a pattern of disease, what would it take to allow that to release and to restore health? For a lot of people I work with, it's this like healing journey. We're searching and searching and searching, and then the kind of treatment is just as complicated because then they've got to avoid a gazillion foods or only do certain activities and limit their activities because they're like, well, I've got to accommodate what's going on with this illness, when really we can create a completely different approach that allows you to receive way more. So if you feel like you've been searching and your life revolves around a healing journey, or you're finding solutions, but it's actually just creating a smaller life instead of a richer one, like you're not able to digest foods, but as long as you avoid those things, you're okay. Or you can't really be around other people, but as long as you avoid that, you're going to be okay. Like there's a lot of limitation. It's time to open up. And there's a process by which that happens that allows you to receive way more. Hi, Rachel, Nicole, Janet, Kimberly, hi, and Nina. So what is that process? What does it take to actually let go of the search and to embrace your health? And what do I mean when I say it's already here, even though you might not be experiencing it? So I like to use the analogy of like a really great bottle of wine, whether you're a wine person or not. When you drink wine and learn to appreciate wine, there will be subtle nuances and flavors and textures in the wine that you can begin to appreciate. So if you have, say it's like a $200 bottle of wine, it's made very exquisitely, there's a lot of beautiful flavors in there and subtleties, and it's a rich experience. Someone who has had some, is adept with tuning into that will have an amazing experience. It's a rich experience. It's like, wow, this makes life even more abundant and beautiful and amazing. I can enjoy and appreciate this wine. And then someone else comes along who's maybe like, I drink the wine out of the box kind of person, and they have that same $200 bottle of wine, and they're like, oh, it tastes like grapes. They're not picking up on those subtleties of the flavors and the textures and all the passion of the wine grower and what was in the soil and what went into the, how the grapes grew that year, or if there's like a raisin flavor because it was really dry or sunny on the hill. You don't have any of that appreciation, and you're like, meh, tastes like grapes. And they all kind of taste the same. Like, why would I pay $200 for this bottle? There isn't that rich experience. Well, it's not because the wine isn't showing up. It's not because it's not already there in the wine. It's a matter of what you're tuning into. And so a lot of people are on the frequency of fear, lack, and then anger, which is always going to be a cover up for like powerlessness, inadequacy, and fear. And I know for me, I've had a lot of anger that I've dealt with, like, why is everything triggering this anger? And then to realize like, oh, it's all the ways I feel like it's never going to be okay. I'm never going to have what I need. And then to meet those energies and let them release. So can we go deeper? But the point I want to make is, for a long time, I didn't understand this. It's like, well, it's already here. Why am I not experiencing it? It must not be here. and you try to get more out of life, and you try to make changes, and you try to seek and seek and seek and do more and do more and learn more, when it's really about opening more here, opening myself so I can receive more of what's already available. So in this session of MindBody TV, we're going to talk about going from what's available to making it actually accessible, that you tune into those possibilities. You allow that abundance and richness of life. You allow the cellular regeneration, robust strength and health and vitality in your body, and let that flourish in your life. So if this resonates, let me know. Hi, Zabi from Canada, and Randy, Kelly, Morgan, Courtney, Karen. I always like to just see who's here. Anne, Lori, Erica, hello again from Pittsburgh. Jess, hello. All right. So when I was talking about, like, a lot of the people that will come to find my work have been kind of on this search where they find a lot of alternatives, or maybe functional medicine, or maybe they're using diet and making changes. And those are all really, really great. But you'll see there will be a point where it's just exhausting. And you're like, this maybe created more at first, but now it's just depleting me. This maybe seemed to be a solution, but now it's actually a limitation. So if you find like that's where you're at with your this quote unquote healing journey, it really is time to surrender that approach, because that approach, it's like you're looking outside yourself for the thing, but you haven't cultivated it here. So it can't show up out there. It can't show up out there because everything out there, whether it's your husband, your money, your job opportunities, your people, or your physical cells in your body, they're all a reflection of the consciousness that you're in here within yourself. So sometimes people will have like solutions, but they're like, oh, but I don't have the money, or they have these solutions, but oh, I'm just not disciplined enough, or I have the solution, but it's just not working out. I gotta work harder at it. That is not the same. Full surrender actually requires you to first experience this thing you're trying to solve, this thing you're trying to fix, this thing that you're trying to make go away, the thing you're fighting against. And that is the biggest key to why so many people don't heal, is because everything we're doing in that journey is about escape. It's about avoidance. It's about fix this so that I don't have to experience what I think this is about. And your body is on your side. Your body's not the enemy. So when you do open up to that surrender, you actually let yourself experience more of life. And yet first it might be painful, or it might be all the fear now that I just took the lid off the pot. Everything's so explosive, but it will simmer down. And it will distill and dissipate as soon as you stop putting so much suppressive energy into it. Hey, Julie from Boston. Oh, cool. I grew up in Boston. Levon from New Zealand. Allison from New England. Julie, Tamara, Norma. Yes, I get food depressions. So few foods I can eat without paying for it. So paying for it like you suffer after if you eat certain things. Okay, so when you're in a certain consciousness, you may have some solutions, but you're actually experiencing the same thing over and over. It's not a true expansion. And the reason I created the Embracing Health program, and it's not the Fix Your Health program, is because what really works to create expansion is embracing everything that is exactly as it is. We did a really beautiful integration in the Embracing Health group yesterday to do exactly that, to integrate all these things with complete willingness, which means they no longer have the energy of your resistance. What you resist persists. So you continue spinning the wheel. I remember one time I said to my mentor, Sylvie, like, I had got this headache and I'm still having this. I'm trying to do all these things to make it better. And she said, stop trying to make it better. Feel the headache. Let yourself have the headache. Let yourself experience the headache completely. Let it come in instead of trying to push it out. And it was about 10 seconds of surrendering to it, because then there was a softness. I actually invited it in. What is this? Let me feel it. I'm curious. Let's turn up the volume. But there was a softness and the energy dissipated. And I had no more headache. And it was, pretty extraordinary. But that's how our body works. So once we get introduced to that and we understand that, It doesn't need to be such a big surprise. We can just use it as a regular way of operating. Okay, so when we're in a certain frequency, so you can let your external situation point to you and be a reflection of the frequency of consciousness you're in. Are you in resistance? Or are you in embracing? Are you embracing what is even exactly as it is? Or are you still highly vested? I got to make it go away. I got to make it better. I've got to improve. Because it's an oxymoron. It's a counterintuitive. When we release the resistance, everything can quote unquote improve. We are more whole. We allow that expansion. We experience the expansion. So there's a big difference between the infinite possibilities that are available and the possibilities that are actually accessible, that I can access right now on a moment. And that's the practice. The yoga of self-healing is a practice. It's not a magic moment and then everything is, I never have to do this again. It's a practice that you begin to integrate. Yes, once it's integrated, you're no longer occupied with that anymore. But it's a very, very different approach. All right, Bolak, hello. Sis Annie. Will this help pelvic floor dysfunction? Hypertonic, too tight pelvic floor muscles. Yes. I had a patient I worked with many years back who had a lot of pain with intercourse, a lot of pain in her pelvis. And she worked with a physical therapist for like months and months and months. And they would measure the tension in her pelvic floor muscles. See, because this is a nervous system rewrite. So they would measure the tension in her pelvic floor muscles. And she'd gone from like a 8 out of 10 to maybe like a 5 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10. But nothing she was doing was like really allowing a release, a full release in her pelvic floor. And after working with me, she was working with me personally, privately. She went back in and her floor was completely relaxed. It was like a 1 out of 10 of tension. Your state of being is constantly sending signals to every cell in your body. So if there's fear, even if it's repressed, right? You're not consciously aware, like, I'm fine, everything's good, but the fear is there. It will create an effect cellularly. It will create tension in the muscles. It will create impairment in the immune system. It will create inflammation, problems with the digestive system. Your body cannot operate at top function when so much energy is in this repression. So all of these energies we hold will still have impact in the body. And it really is only through embracing what is as opposed to fighting it that allows it to dissolve. Because you can keep fighting it and now you still have something to fight. You find a solution, but now it's conditional. You got to keep doing that thing, which will eventually become exhausting. I'm not saying that there aren't great external solutions you'll find. I'm just saying that when you've now come to a space where it's not expansive for you, it's time to surrender more. I've used homeopathics for years. And over the last, it was about a year ago, it kind of completed. I mean, I still use them sometimes acutely, but the way I was using them, like, a constitutional remedy, it really was the one thing that had a high enough frequency to move the margin. And about a year ago, it changed where I knew I'd accessed something higher, like a frequency high enough where I didn't require that approach anymore. So I still used that approach until it was no longer fluid for me. Now it was just like, it felt like, oh my God, I'm chasing it. I've got to get the right remedy. I've got to find out. And it was like, this isn't working for me to create expansion. This isn't the same thing. So I was open to letting that go completely. Like when you cross the river, you no longer need a canoe. Doesn't mean the canoe's not awesome. It's awesome, but you're going to get to a point where it's going to just be a heavy burden. And so to continue to carry that and search and seek is a limitation. So you'll know because you'll be like, oh, I can't keep this up anymore. I'm exhausted. And if you're on that journey, and Sylvie Olivier, who's one of my mentors, she calls it the first octave, second octave, third octave of consciousness. In the first octave, we're just following the regularly scheduled program. Tell me what to do. I'm going to do it. Okay, I'm following the rules. I'm doing the right thing. I'm going to study hard, get a good job, be a good girl. I'm going to have it made and everything's going to be okay. I'm going to do what people tell me to do and follow the rules and I will have a good life. And one day it'll all pay off. And then what inevitably happens from that first octave is life kind of has a different plan and bumps you out. You'll find people say, I got cancer, or my husband left me, or my wife left me, or I went bankrupt, or I got fired, or I got laid off. Like, it's happening to me. I'm not co-creating. It's just happening. I'm supposed to do ABC. I did ABC. I did everything right. And still I got screwed, or I got left behind, or there's a problem here. And that's when the first awakening happens. Like, wait a minute, maybe this foundation of reality I bought into isn't really true. And my niece is coming through this. She's gone through high school and had a lot of like anxiety, depression, did everything she was told, studied hard. And when things weren't working out, she would just do it harder, trying to squeeze water from that stone, trying to get more out of that thing that she was promised. And then only to find, like, this is not ultimately fulfilling. I got all A's. I got into college. Where's the big shebang that was supposed to be so great? It's not. And so she finally let go a little and realized, like, I need to do life on my own terms. So life will not work out. You'll get bumped out of that first octave. And then you enter into the second octave, where it's like, co-creating my reality. I'm law of attraction, but then I'm working at it. I'm on the big search for the thing. And it's kind of like a carrot. The first and second both is like a carrot on the stick. I got to do this thing. Except now, instead of like conventional medicine, it's like functional medicine or alternative medicine, or it's outside the box solutions, but it's still a search. I'm co-creating. So if things aren't well, there must be something I've done wrong. I must not be doing it right. Let me try harder. Let me improve myself. It's all about seeking. And this one, it will be a conscious choice to go beyond it to a higher frequency possibility, to the third octave, which is neutrality. So in that second octave, it's good and bad, right and wrong. Oh, that's bad. I'm going to do this other thing that's good. I'm going to not eat those bad foods. I'm going to only eat these good foods. I'm going to not get near those negative people. I'm going to only think positive. And so it's a little more empowered than the first octave, but it's still limiting. It's still duality. It's still conditional. It is not true freedom, because you got to keep trying. You got to keep going. There's always more to learn, and there's always more to do. And you're always going to be just a step behind of total fulfillment, because it doesn't exist there. And actually, I did a whole call on this that's in the Embracing Health program. I think it's coming up in the 4th month or something, but it's about how when we go from duality and we expand into neutrality, which is I'm whole exactly as I am. I love and accept myself fully. What are the bumps that bump us back? Because for a while it bumped me back to be like, I got to be there. I want to be there. This is better. Or that's the goal. This is the goal. I got to attain this. All of these things just keep you stuck in duality. The mind cannot understand it. The only way we can move into something higher is through the heart. And there's a lot of technology from Institute of Heart Math and other research institutions that show what happens when we physically just connect with the space of the heart. Put your hand on your heart, breathe into your heart, bring your awareness to this area. You light up different receptivity. You get different kind of information. Now, at first you might do this and you're like, I don't feel anything, or I just feel heaviness. It's a practice, because we've shut it down for so long. Now you want to actually turn it back up. Okay, I'm going to talk about the third octave in just a sec. Randy says, I'm experiencing a recurring pattern, disappointment. It gets so intense, usually around plans or experiences that I'm really looking forward to. Yeah, so it's conditional. That get changed, they're canceled, they fall apart, or they end up not going the way my heart desired. It's gotten more intense lately, where I feel such anguish or even anger sometimes. So where is their attachment? Because this is what happens when we're in that second octave duality. I hope this thing happens. If this thing happens, I'm going to feel so much joy. We haven't yet learned to cultivate joy. And this is what Embracing Health is about. And I'm going to talk about the program in a minute too, because I know there have been a ton of questions about the Embracing Health program. We're starting tomorrow is the first group call. How do we cultivate that? The only way that more joy, more abundance, more love, more freedom can possibly come into my life is when I access it. when I cultivate it, when I put the energy into opening to it. And there's some really, really easy, simple ways to do that, but it's a choice. It's a practice. And so many of us are so caught up with like 99% of our energy vested in spinning the wheel that we think, yeah, I got this 1% over here cultivating joy. I'm good. I learned that thing. I know about law of attraction. I'm on it. I am thinking positive. It's just not showing up. And so what are we doing? We're arguing for the limitation. I realized this months back. Like, what is this? When people will show up, they understand it here, but they're not experiencing it here. What we're doing is we're arguing for the limitation. And people will actually try to get me to prove to them at this level, at the mind, before they'll really buy in and invest themselves. It doesn't work that way. You won't ever be able to understand it at the level of mind you're at. You can only allow that to come through the heart. And yes, as we've seen in the studies about the heart and the activity in the heart and the electromagnetics of the heart, it repatterns your brain. It changes the way your brain activity works, changes the thoughts and ideas that you have, the awareness. It changes even the memories that are playing. Like, you'll have these memories of all the times you messed up and it was not okay. And then it's proof like, well, it's actually never worked out for me. And you'll stay there because you're listening to that limitation, or that it's really a fabrication. So fascinating what we found in brain science about like memories and brain activity. If you create a memory, like say you, okay, I have a great story. My brother has this story of something that happened when I was in high school. And this celebrity kid, we used to go on this show. It was called Ready to Go. Are you ready to go? And it was this like kids kind of talk show, lifestyle talk show. And they'd have kids who were doing really incredible things, like, I don't know, starting a business or doing art or dancing or music. And they had me come on at one time because I used to design clothes and paint clothes. And one of my friends wore my outfit and she was a kid host. And they were like, where'd you get this outfit? She's like, my friend Kim made it. Oh, let's have Kim come on the show. This was like a local Boston show. And so we came on the show and I showed them, we had a little fashion show with the clothes. And then we started doing this like monthly thing where they'd have a dance party and a whole bunch, you'd invite all your friends and they'd fill up the room and kids dancing, and they just put this in the background in between different parts of the TV show. Anyway, long story short, we met this other celebrity kid who was on this, so David Faustino was Bud Bundy in Married with Children. And at the time he was pretty, he was a bit, so that was cool. But I was only, I think I was 16. So he made this comment like, hey, what are you and your friends doing this weekend? Because it was a Friday. Now, meanwhile, the show takes place at like 5 o'clock in the morning before school. And so this was like in the morning. And I said, oh, I don't know, maybe we'll do something. He's like, well, why don't you give me your number and I'll give you a call. Now, I wasn't going to go out with Bun Bundy in some limousine. He's like, I'll pick you up. It was just a statement, but he didn't call. We didn't have, nothing happened. And I was actually really nervous because I knew my mother would never let me go and do something like that. In my brother's mind, the story has evolved over years and years, and it's been decades now, that Bud Bundy came by, picked me up in the limo, and we went out. He always jokes like, Kim went out with Bud Bundy, because in the show he was this dorky kid. And it's like such a funny story. Well, it's evolved so much that he doesn't remember, like, this didn't actually happen. This is just a memory. But it's been so elaborated upon that it's now like solidified in his brain. He can see it, he can remember it, and I can't convince him. Dave, you remember it really didn't happen. It was just a story. He's like adamantly opposed. Like, what are you talking about? So the point I'm making is when we believe something and replay it enough, it gets embedded in the brain, and we'll see on brain studies exactly like a memory that did happen in this physical reality. So you're creating memories, you're creating drama, you're creating truths, you're creating realities, and then they're getting implanted in your brain as true. And you will look at them and rely on them and call on them as truth. That's how the world works. And so when I finished college, I had this time, I went through some depression because I didn't believe in myself. I didn't know that I'd ever amount to anything. I didn't get into medical school right from my undergrad. And I got this research job with a woman who was bipolar. I didn't really know what bipolar was at the time, but manic depressive and really, really abusive. And OCD, a lot of OCD. Well, we're working in a research lab, like, doing like lab experiments and things like that. So the way she was teaching me, it was crazy. But I didn't know because I'd never learned about this before. So it really messed with my mind, and I was never good enough. And she's always, why did you do that? Why did you do that? Freaking out. I thought it was me. And because I didn't believe in myself, I got really, really depressed. And I thought, it's true. I never will amount to anything. I've made all these mistakes. I'm no good. I'll never amount to anything. I'll probably never get into medical school. And I remember my sister came down to Providence. We went rollerblading for like 15 miles on this beautiful path. And I was just going on and on, like, I don't think I'm ever going to amount to anything in my life. And probably it was just a fluke that I even graduated from college. And she stopped me in my tracks and sat me down. And she was like, Kim, she just called out all of the things that had happened, all of the wins. You were in the honors. You were in the top of, you graduated in chemistry and biology. You were teaching for the chemistry department, teaching other kids about chemistry. You had an award from the chemistry department. They recognized you. You did this, you did this, you did that. And just all of a sudden it like snapped me out of that reality where like, I'm no good, I'll never make it. And it's just some fluke. I even graduated, which was real at the time, and snapped me into like, what WTF? Like, she's right. These things are real. These things did happen. I can't deny it. And it just like snapped me into a different truth, a higher truth. I do have what it takes. I have always, applied myself and had great success, and and I am valuable and worthy, like all of these things. So the next day I went in and literally just said, I'm done to my job. I would have never done this. I said, I'm done. I can give you 2 weeks notice, but I'm leaving, and there's no way I'm going to stay and participate in this. And it was like the best thing and the most freeing thing I ever did. Obviously I went on to get into medical school and have, a really beautiful life. But I will never forget that day, because the state of mind I was in, all those things were true. I'm totally a loser. I'll never make it. It will light up in your brain, all the truths and realities, arguing it for the limitation. And it's up to you to say, wait a minute, and go to the heart. On some level, I do know it feels good to let go. On some level, I do know it feels good to honor myself. On some level, I know it feels good to love and accept myself unconditionally, fully and completely. I can feel it cellularly. And so there has to be a point where I buy into this truth above this truth. Buy into this truth in my heart and my wisdom and my knowing above the learning and memories and beliefs in my mind. There has to be a point where I choose that. And that's getting out of that second octave and coming into neutrality, where you begin to believe more fully, more in unity consciousness and love, and not in, it's conditional and I law of attraction, I got to make it happen. I don't want to have a lack mentality. I've got to make sure that I'm in abundance mentality. Yeah, but it's a fight. So anytime it's a fight, you are in resistance and you're actually creating what you're fighting against. All right, so let me go back and look at some of these comments. So this, hi, Anne from North Carolina. Nicole, I've had a few panic attacks in the last 3 months. I was having them multiple times a day. I'm starting to experience more fear, panic, and so Nicole, you're in the Embracing Health group. Use that exercise we did yesterday to embrace all of it. And from the space of love. I love myself fully. It's okay for me to witness and embrace all of this, because you're fighting it. Yeah, it's freaking me out. So the way it's freaking you out is the way you're like buying into it as a problem. Like, this is bad. It's not going to be okay. And then it's propagating the fear that created it in the first place. That's really like the cycle of the panic attack. I had that for years when I was younger. I've worked through it so much and have been through so much. I can't figure out why am I still stuck. All the fear and some symptoms. We're moving tomorrow, and that's been bringing up stuff for me as well. I still struggle being alone because it triggers attacks so fast. Did you choose to move? Did you choose this timing? And why did you choose it? So are you honoring yourself in the equation of life? If this was like, yes, we're going to move, and yes, we're going to do this date, you've got to begin to choose your choices and trust them. You're still in resistance to yourself. So where are you doubting yourself and putting other people first, or valuing their opinion, or looking to them to tell you? You hadn't been willing to know what you know. So get out of the mind and into the heart, and let yourself know, I love you implicitly. It's okay to feel what we're feeling, because that energy will distill down as you center, as you become present, as you stop running. Okay, Jen, Melissa, Marguerite, Levon, I'm aware I'm trying to fix this neurological condition. I'm in resistance. Yeah, and it's not that we don't let in solutions and assistance. Let in assistance, but have that willingness to be present, so you know what is going to assist me forward and what is just another spin out where I'm chasing it, keeping me busy, keeping me in fear. It's temporary. I'll temporarily feel better, but the problems are still at the same frequency. So be willing to receive instead of trying to fix. Because when your body gets what it needs, there's no longer inflammation. There's no longer cells attacking the myelin of the nerves and creating, neuropathy or whatever the neurological condition is. There are cellular events that are part of that. And this is where you can allow something more fluid. Okay, and full surrender. I don't know what that actually feels like. Okay, so let's all start here and just take a few deep breaths. Close your eyes if that's available, and relax your shoulders. One of the things that keeps us in the mind is like all this tension here in the neck and the shoulders, where we're trying to suppress and control. So if you just relax your shoulders, relax your neck, you can roll it around and move it around. Sense the sensations. You can even massage this area, sense what you feel in this area, and just let yourself let some energy go. Your body knows how to let it go. It's getting the signals from you to hold on, try, control. Got to send a new signal and let your body know, body, it's okay to let this go. So just start with a few breaths. Maybe slow your breathing down, maybe just deepen your breathing a little bit. Relax your shoulders, relax your neck, let everything go. Okay, good. So even then for me, I can feel my heart a lot more. There's less restriction here, which is like that pattern in the second octave where people are like, I gotta go, what I do. And when I work with practitioners in the Awakened Practitioner Collaborative, there's so many people in that pattern where it's like, I gotta get my message out, I gotta do the thing, I gotta write my blog, I gotta build my business, I gotta make sure. You're trying to receive by doing more, by giving more, by trying harder. But until you come into the alignment of peace and joy, it can't show up out there. So just start with that, relaxing the shoulders and breathing more fully. Rachel, I can relate, as I've been struggling with Candida for years. And I've been on a strict sugar-free diet for so long, I've developed a lot of fear about eating sugar. But it hasn't solved the Candida anyway. What I've noticed is that when I raise my frequency, joy, inspiration, etc., I feel better and the Candida symptoms go. Yeah, well, they will, because Candida, the frequency of that organism, can't survive and flourish in the frequency of joy. So super easy. We've actually documented this scientifically. We look at the frequency of the microbiome, the gut biome, and it has a frequency. So it will be a match for the frequencies you are carrying in your body, consciously or unconsciously. What I have noticed, okay, the symptoms go away. But when I get low again and experience frustration, fear, etc., it returns. Well, it's resisting fear and frustration that are causing it to return. So yeah, you can feel fear, but feel it with awareness. Feel it and embrace it. Feel it with willingness. It will move through, and it will not trigger and anchor in those lower frequencies that allow Candida to bloom. I see the connection, but I still feel stuck with the fear around my diet. Yeah, because if you just go eat a bunch of sugar in the consciousness you're in, it is going to feed the Candida, 100%. It's a shift in consciousness, and it's not the same as I have to raise my frequency. That's that second octave. Somewhere to get, got to get higher. So what if instead I just embrace where I am? Yes, there's fear. Yes, there's Canada. Yes, there's sugar resistance or food allergies. Yes, there is panic. But just for this 10 seconds, I embrace where I am exactly as I am. See what that creates. Okay. And is a full surrender possible if we're in fear? Yeah. It's not conditional. That's the key. So when we're in that third octave, which isn't a different place or a different space, it's just that we're awakened to see, like, oh, there's fear. Okay. It's okay for me to have fear. Oh, I'm not clear and I don't know and I'm grasping and trying to have someone help me because I just can't stand it and I'm avoiding. Okay, there I am. I love and appreciate myself fully. I'm willing to be there instead of resisting to try to be somewhere else. It is such a subtle shift, but it creates everything. It opens up everything. And this is what Embracing Health program is about. And I do want to talk about that if people have questions about that. It's a year-long integration using the work I've done with individuals through group work where they're integrating this. They're allowing the release of fear, the completion, and integrating that awakened space where I love and accept myself fully. I embrace all that is and I allow it to transmute. How do we transmute that energy? So that's what we're actually doing in the calls. So over the year, you receive 2 of these calls monthly to do on your own time. And then I'll be in the group to do a Q&A each month to help you integrate the work more fully. And other bonuses that I'll do through the year, like we did yesterday, which was embracing the heart for the holidays. We are ending 2019 and it's a 10-year cycle of consciousness. Each decade has its own consciousness. I don't know if you've necessarily come to realize this. In the 80s, it's like we just began to get into a higher frequency of self-awareness. And then it was all about like be positive and self-esteem. And it was kind of like the decade of the self. And then the 90s was like share and expand. We're all connected. And we moved into the 2000s. Like each decade had its own consciousness. And we are integrating something collectively. And right now we have stepped into wholeness, operating in the 5th dimension, operating in unity consciousness. For any of us who haven't been practicing the yoga of self-healing, you're going to feel it bad. You're going to feel it more because that just means the energies are ready to move. So if you have some tools to assist you, it can be a fluid expansion. If you're still in resistance, like I shared yesterday, it's going to feel like a miserable nightmare. No solutions will be available because there's no access to continue to suppress. It's kind of like the good news that feels like bad news. We're ready to expand. So life's going to push you in that direction because there's more available. So open and receive it. You can access it much more easily now. So solutions that used to work will no longer work. Or you'll just find like, I just don't have anything I need. And kind of like, oh, it's true, I really am on my own and everything really does suck. The more you're in your mind, the more it's going to be impossible. And you'll feel like I'm on the brink of catastrophe. This is completely not sustainable because it's not. You've got to get out of the mind and into the heart. This is where we access higher possibilities. This is where we let them come in. This is where we integrate that higher reality that you might have learned about and you might have understood and you might have been trying to get, but it's right here in the heart. Zabi says, that's exactly how I awakened. I was doing what I was told only to find it's not the truth of life. So if we spend more time like sitting in stillness, taking a walk in nature. Oh, I made a list yesterday of the ways I love to do this the most. Sitting in a coffee shop, journaling, reading a book. I do that for an hour every week. My life is in a different dimension because things can come in, things can be integrated when I'm in stillness. There's a beautiful place in town where they have this room you can sit and read, and it's right on the river and it's really quiet and peaceful. So if I go there, if I go out skiing, but like by myself, instead of being in a conversation with other people, I'm in the woods, I'm in the trees, I'm skiing and just with myself. There's stillness. I'm creating space to let more integrate. That's really powerful for me. So even if we just create like an hour a week, it will allow something higher to come in. So sitting in stillness, one of the neutrality bumps is then I'm doing nothing, then I'm getting nowhere. Stillness is meaningless. Stillness is nothing, which could not be further from the truth. All right, Nicole, we choose to love, to be close. We chose to move to be near my son. I get excited and then fear. So feel like, what do I know? Is this the right thing? And bouncing back and forth. You have not committed to what you know and to the heart. You're still, just in case, let me make sure I cover the bases. Just in case fear is the true truth, let me stay in control and manage. So you're still trying to play both worlds. And so if I don't feel a truth in my heart, then what? The truth feels like stories in my mind. Yeah, so what you'll feel as you open to the heart, you might see the stories in your mind and they're all going around and going around. Just be present. Just breathe. Just allow. Take a few breaths and feel what you feel. You're practicing the yoga of self-healing. Listening. You are not in charge of, I didn't get an answer. You're not in charge of, nothing happened. You're not in charge of, it wasn't what I thought it should be. You're just there to listen. It's a practice. If you don't set up the channel, nothing can come through. Xavier says, I've heard you say, oh, sorry, the Embracing Health link is drkimd.com/health. If you'd like to learn more about this program, we'll work together for the year. You have a lifetime membership to the group. So beyond that year, you'll still have access to the calls. You'll still have access to what I'm doing live and when I'm coming into the group for as many years as we run this program. So I'll be working with people in this as a form of how I work with people more directly. And you can join at any time. Yes. Thank you, Melissa, for asking about that. Okay. I've heard you say that giving the body everything it needs. Do you mean physically or emotionally? Yeah. So it's not about the ego and the mind and what the body thinks it needs. I need more calcium. I need less caffeine. It's about, what we really need is, like I actually shared in the call yesterday, the only thing that can ever be lacking is more of me showing up. The only thing that can ever be lacking is more of you showing up and coming through. So where are you suppressing yourself? I'm not okay as I am. I have to improve. Where are you suppressing or hiding? Oh, I don't want to be seen. What will people think of me? Where are you in judgment? Where are you in fear and letting that create suppression? Where are you holding on to all the stuff you were taught about your body, about sexuality, about your value and worth, and you're still running those programs in your system? So it's not about like, let me just give my body what it needs, because the mind has no idea. That's why so many people don't know what to eat, don't know what to do, don't know who to love. You can't do that when you're disconnected. So embracing health is about letting the essence of you come through. It will deliver. It will deliver everything in the perfect amounts of what is truly required for you to be in harmony, for you to be in abundance, for you to be in your magnificence. That you can't know that from the mind. Zabi, that really works. I've done it several times. It's pretty amazing, just embracing what is that I'm in. It took some time to get it. Thank you. Love and appreciate you for all you share. 25 years of trying to fix my fear, Alicia. Oh, hey, Nicola. All right, so we're going to complete actually, but and I did want to touch on that space of neutrality. So that third octave, what is possible there? When we enter the heart, we allow those possibilities to actually be available to us, to come through. Like for me, whenever I notice that there's a lack, wait, I want to have this thing happen, or, we're looking at property out in New England for summer and I'm like, oh, and then there was this feeling of like, wait, what if we don't find the right one? And it was like, no, that's not where we're going. There's a yes. Yes, yes, yes. The joy of what it would create, to eat dinner outside overlooking the ocean, to have, walk right over the beach. There's a beautiful essence of joy, love, and abundance. And so I know the way to welcome in whether it's a home or experiences like that, doesn't matter. No attachment, is to cultivate that joy right now, now. This is the only minute we're truly alive, is now. We can't have it in the future. And neutrality is now. So if I feel what that inspiration is calling me toward, because there's a reason I was inspired that we're going to have this beach house. There's a reason. So what is that reason? What does it feel like? So take a moment right now and feel the juice of your desire. Why do you want to heal your body? Why do you want to have more money? Why do you want to find your lover? What is that? Oh, it would be amazing. Start with that and then just feel the essence of it from the heart. Let it in. So first start by opening the heart and then just feel that joy. Oh my gosh, it was so amazing. I can feel the frequency of being with my family, of connecting and just relaxing, cooking food on the grill, having the kids run around with their cousins, being on that beach, which is one of my favorite places on the planet. It's where I went to medical school. It's so beautiful. So I can let that in right now. I don't have to wait for something on the outside. And then the more I let that in and remember it's right here and I allow that, the less there's any attachment that it has to show up a certain way or in a certain timeline. Who knows when it will have it, like that will be the right timing. Doesn't matter. So take a moment and let that integration happen. You are the chooser. And the wine is not, the limitation is not the wine. The wine is showing up fully. Are you showing up in receptivity? So if you remember that all the frequencies of that love and that joy and that peace are here right now, why not open up and access them, let them in? So I'm putting time and energy into cultivating that, which is an effortless, beautiful experience. That's what we do in the Embracing Health program. Now there's not that struggle on the outside. It will show up. And I actually had a friend, we connected recently after many years we haven't talked. And he's like, I have a house in that area. Here's where it is. Here's the website. Like that just came out of nowhere. So the more I cultivate this, the more I am inviting the synchronicities that let things be created. But keep it light. No attachment. If you already are it, why is there attachment? Why would there ever be attachment? I already am this joy. It's inevitable. I'm inevitably experiencing this joy. So now everything that shows up in my life is the cherry on top. Nicola, hello. This makes all the difference, to be in the energy of the thing rather than be attached to the thing. We really do think, when I get that thing, it's going to bring me joy. When I get that thing, I'm going to have more love. When I get that partner, I'm going to have more self-acceptance. When I get that job, I'm going to have more freedom because I'm going to get more money, and then I'm going to feel more worthy, and then I'm just going to feel so good. It's a complete big fat lie. There is nothing out there that has anything for you, including physical health. The only way you can access more joy, love, abundance is by cultivating it from where you are right now. Will you choose to do that? Even though you feel like crap, even though the mind is firing, even though you're freaking out, even though someone said this thing, even though it didn't work in the past, you think, I did this in the past, it didn't work. There's so many neutrality bumps. Jen says, wow, this is divine timing. Hi, Jody. Anne says, when I'm in a dark place and feel into the heart for joy, it feels like despair. So what happens when we say, I'm going to embrace love? We're like, I don't want to feel despair. I don't want to feel despair. I want to feel love. This is wrong. It's going to show you what you're rejecting, blocking out love. And I'm going to speak, is it next week, about boundaries. Everyone's interested in boundaries. How do I create boundaries, especially with the holidays? It's not about boundaries. It's about, will I honor myself in the equation of my life? The Embracing Health program is really, really, for those of you who are choosing it, super helpful for integrating the consciousness of what's coming in 2020 and in the 20s in general. It's a much higher frequency, but if we're bumping it out, we're going to feel it. It's like if you're moving, you're driving 20 miles an hour and you hit a wall versus you're in a jet plane and you hit a wall. You're going to feel it way more because the frequencies are increasing and speeding up. So it's a beautiful way to invite something more harmonic and let this release happen. Be willing to embrace the despair, because that's the thing that's in the way. Is the rejection of despair is the only thing that's in the way of you receiving more love. Is rejecting despair, is suppressing despair, is being afraid of despair. So what if you embraced despair as part of the equation? I guarantee you it will dissipate. It is not your true nature. I'm not saying take the good with the bad. You can't have the good, let's take the bad. I'm saying good and bad is not the reality you're in. It's not the truth. It's all beauty. It's all to be embraced. And when we do, everything is fluid. Everything is real. Everything is abundant. All right. Rachel says, this has been amazing. Thank you. Melissa, thank you. All right, everyone. Lots of love. The link, if you would like to join Embracing Health, we'll have our first group live call tomorrow. It's drkimd.com/health. Yes, you can join anytime. We do a group call each month in the beginning of the month. If there are any other questions, let me know. support@drkimd.com. What else did I want to say about that? It's time. If it feels like a yes, trust that. Trust that. Ask that clarity. Like, is this something that will nurture me forward? Will this assist my expansion? Will this assist my wealth? Will this assist the love in my relationships? Will this assist my children? You can ask in any level. Your heart will tell you, yeah, this is in the resonance, or like, no, you can let that go. So like, just ask for that clarity. Is this something that will assist me in creating more? And then trust it, because if it's going to create more, you'll have what you need. You will expand in health, wealth, and wholeness. They're not separate things. Bolek, thank you. I will be on the call tomorrow. I so needed this. Allison, thank you. So many nuggets of wisdom. Heather, perfect timing. All right. Lots of love to everyone. We'll be sharing this and posting it to YouTube, so you can subscribe on YouTube there. We do these lives in the MindBody community if you want to be here live and ask questions. And Melissa says, it's a total yes. When we finally begin to say yes to our inspiration, we start to say yes to our yes, everything changes. Yes, fear will start to come up like, oh, no, you can't do that. And it'll show its ugly head. And you just say, oh, wow, I'm not choosing that fear anymore. I'm going to let myself be free. I'm going to let something bigger come through. It comes through you. Yes, gets created in your reality in the third dimension, every aspect of it. Yes, 100%, but not the other way around. You can't wait for it to show up to then choose it. You are the chooser. All right. Lots of love, everyone, and I'll see you soon. Bye.